Hello and welcome back to She's in Focus, the podcast dedicated to inspiring and empowering female filmmakers and video creators from all walks of life and on every step of their creative journey. I'm your host, Kel Grant, an aspiring filmmaker from New Jersey who's just trying to turn my passion into something more and connect with amazing women who have the same passion for video. One of those being Kourtney Cassanova, a 24-year-old digital content creator, video editor, and filmmaker also based here in New Jersey. Kourtney is someone I found on Instagram and have been inspired by her ever since. We're the same age, we're in the same location, and now we're both business owners, but she's a bit further ahead on her journey, so she's been someone I look to for inspiration, encouragement, and motivation. Kourtney, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm like, this is real. It's a thing, you
know? It's happening.
It's happening live.
Oh, that's so funny. Just realized my mug's in the shot here. It's okay. All right. So we're going to talk about your filmmaking journey to start. How would you describe your style of filmmaking? Like, what's the content that you like creating most?
I was actually just talking about this, I think like 2 weeks ago with some of my other filmmaker friends. I really enjoy creating content for socials, which can kind of get a little murky because in our discussion, we're talking about what is a filmmaker, and it could get to be an argument because, you know, people have certain things that they hold up as a standard. So, like, if you don't tick off these boxes in terms of qualifications, experience, like, then you are not a filmmaker. But, I mean, filmmaking is such a huge umbrella. Filmmaking is such a huge umbrella, especially even within people right behind the camera, you know? Because obviously there are a lot of different positions. And I feel I'm not laughing because it's just like, this is kind of crazy when you say it out loud, because it's like, it's not that deep, because you need to have filmmakers in every aspect at different levels, right? Because if we only have people out here producing for like Netflix and Hulu, or even like their own production company, and if they're only producing at that level, who is meeting the people that are here, and even the people that are just beginning, you know? Who's meeting the people on the different platforms, and even everyone on social doesn't want to do all social platforms, you know?
Yeah.
So I enjoy creating content for social, and I started last year, but then because of the Polly Pocket, I had to kind of stop. But I was working to produce and shoot 2 of my first spec commercials, and I'm still gonna do it. Like, the goal is to do it by my birthday, July 7th. So y'all circle back on my platforms and see if it's up, or at least in production. But I do want to shoot more commercialized content, and really, well, not me, because this is really a thing. I want to shoot more commercialized content with Black people, like point blank, period. We don't see a lot of us in the space, let alone women, like whether we're in front of the camera or behind the camera. So that is something I want to do. And even just with creating content for social, we'll get on this a little later. I want people to feel empowered enough, because it's like, you know, these platforms, they're tools, right? And that's how you and I met. But you can use it to leverage it. So I want to help to bridge the gap. So, like, yeah, we are creating content on socials, and just because it's socials doesn't mean it's going to be of a lesser quality, but let's bridge the gap, because if you do want to go to that next level and be putting out more commercialized stuff, whether it is like through these platforms or through your own network, you know, wink, wink. I want to give that opportunity to people. So yeah, I hope there's
Yeah. Do you like the short form nature? Is that also why you like social, like video for social?
That's okay. That's question number 2 or 1A.
The
follow up. So yes and no. I say yes because I like the short form, now that I'm saying this, I think it's because of the adrenaline, you know? You only have so much time to capture someone's attention span, right? And I want to say it's between like 3 to 7 seconds. The 7 might be pushing it, because sometimes people be tapped out by 4. So for me, in my mind, I'm always thinking, what can I do with this time? Even one of my new clients, Destiny, when we were going over her content and she wanted to put out some reels, and she sent me the footage, and I was like, dude, like, you really have to like focus. And even in our video notes, like, dang, I'm like getting ahead. Even in our video notes, like, be very specific on what do you want the audience to pay attention to, what do you want them to engage with, because at the end of this 30 seconds, what is your call to action for them to do? And so it's definitely an adrenaline rush. But I actually also like longer forms of content because I'm a talker. If you follow me on Instagram, when I'm on my stories, I'm a talk. And it's worse when I'm having on there for a couple of days or some weeks at a time. Oh, I'm coming back with updates. Okay, we're gonna be here for a minute. I just let the people know, like, look, we'll be sitting here for a while. So, and I love connecting with the stories. Like, even like my favorite shows, some of them I have not watched the last season, even though I know the outcome, because I'm emotionally attached. Okay,
invested.
I am just like, I can't close this chapter. But instead of producing it, like, look at this latest too, but even like TV shows and those longer forms of content, that's stuff I want to do too. So I want to do a lot, and I like a lot of different things, but it always just felt a little murky because I felt like I had to choose one, and I felt like I had to show with a certain level of expertise to like be welcomed into that space, and then to perform the action to complete the content.
I think that's the cool thing about filmmaking. Like, I think it's evolved a lot over the years, because when I used to think of the term filmmaker when I first got into college, I was like, oh, like major motion pictures, you're on a set, you're in Hollywood. And then, I think nowadays it encompasses like wedding films, like any sort of like short form cinematic film. If you are picking up your camera and you're pressing record and you have some sort of like creative intentionality behind it, you can call yourself a filmmaker. And I think that the flexibility to be able to like produce short form content and long form narrative content and major motion pictures, I think the industry really lends itself to that, because they kind of serve each other. For every long form piece of content, you're going to need a short form piece of content to promote it.
Will Smith, when they did that reunion on HBO, they were on every single platform. Okay, and that short form content, it was, I get a little overwhelmed and excited because it was mind blowing. Like, I mean, first of all, they used all the time they had. Okay.
Yeah.
They said we're gonna meet every single audience. We are going to meet the new audience that never even heard of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because at the end of this, the call to action that I want them to do, I want them to go binge and stream this and go tell their friend and go tell their friend, because streaming. We're not going to get into how big streaming is. Even I remember like 10 years ago, a family member was like, yo, like streaming is going to be the next big thing. And I mean, at the time, it's 10 years ago, I was like 14. And I was like, oh, I can see, but I still didn't like fully understand. Because, I was young, you know what I'm saying? But fast forward to now, these companies, they want their time. And even yet, ads, okay? Look, so they go hand in hand, they do. And I feel like when you can do both, if that is your cup of tea, because I'm not going to force it on you, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah,
and
I
even
agree.
when it comes to clients, but we'll get into that a little later.
It's funny, I was actually never interested in like long form content or like working on movies or anything like that. I do like documentaries, but I always like even as a kid, I was always fascinated with commercials. Like you were saying before, like the idea that you have 30 seconds to get this message across, to tell this entire story, to, promote a specific call of action. It was always fascinating to me. And then you go into like micro content, like reels, 15 seconds or less.
Vine.
Oh my God, Vine, 7 seconds, right? Like it's so powerful and it's so cool.
Yeah, it's definitely an adrenaline. I never thought about it as an adrenaline rush for sure. I'm about to start telling people like, yeah, I like the adrenaline.
Yeah.
It's the
people gonna be like, what are you talking about? Like, you're not a filmmaker, you wouldn't understand.
Exactly.
I watched a video on your IG where you explained how it took external validation in order for you to call yourself a filmmaker. I think you said that Brittany Janae, one of your friends, ended up giving you that title. Yeah. So what was preventing you from like recognizing that in yourself? Why did you need that external validation, and when did you like officially start to embrace the title and be like, okay, and own it, like, all right, I'm a filmmaker, this is who I am?
So we're gonna work a little backwards. And so in terms of owning the title, I'm pretty sure probably January this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but okay, so last last fall I had taken a break from socials, and I remember I came back, and I don't know where on the internet I was. I don't even remember what I was doing, but I was talking with somebody. Actually, I was in the DMs with one of my friends. I was talking with them, and out of nowhere I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a filmmaker. And she was like, but you are a filmmaker. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, to me, I'm a filmmaker. Like, in private, when I'm offline, like, I say it all day. I speak everything that I am. In the past, I would speak to everything that I wanted to be out loud, but I never spoke to it in the present as if it was going to happen in the future, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so she was like, why do you not call yourself a filmmaker? And I was like, oh, I don't have X, Y, and Z. I don't have any formal training. I'm not white. Not a male, but even aside from that, I just never felt like good enough. And so fast forward to January, I remember I got a notification from Clubhouse, and it was like, Brittany invited you to be a moderator in the room. And I was gonna hit her up because I was like, wait, this is for tomorrow or like 2 days, and I'm kind of confused because moderate who? Because it says Black filmmakers on YouTube. I am Black. Filmmaker who?
Right.
Could it be me? And so I remember even after the Clubhouse room, and since then, like, the 5 of us, like, and we talk about it all the time, up until 2 weeks ago, like I was saying, like, what is a filmmaker? Because, and even with, like, micro content, and aside from the adrenaline, like, there's a story you're trying to tell, right? And I felt like, you know, to be a filmmaker, to tell stories, like, it had to be ever so deep. Like, it needed to be long form content, like movies, in terms for the validation. But I remember even, I think it was like last summer, I was a camera op for a live session, and I think the session, I think it was like for an hour. It was great because, you know, we were outside in the backyard, but I was like still a little nervous because, you know, panoramic. But I remember on some downtime, look, throughout this podcast, you will probably hear like some different variations. So when you walk away, y'all, you will know that we're in a Polly Pocket panini flipped upside down, okay? But I remember in some downtime, one of my friends, Reynard, we were talking, and I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, I started to shoot a spec and I want to shoot some commercials. He was like, oh, but you are shooting commercials. And he literally paused in our conversation. He yelled, like, literally, we're chilling in between takes. He was like, hey everybody, Kourtney's gonna be shooting big blockbuster commercials, and that's what she started doing already. And I was like, wait, double back. And he was like, no, but this is what you are. He was like, I will be buying into your company in the future, to help you continue to do this. Wow. And even going back to September of 2019, that was my first time being on a set, right? And it was the first time I was being on a set. In my mind, I'm like, I knew I was coming out with Cassanova Media in November, even though I still had no idea what I was doing. To have the nerve to say I'm a video production company, where I only see you, company person,
right.
like on the set, like everyone made me feel so empowered, and I felt like I am a filmmaker. But even still, I was working through the definition of what is a filmmaker. So I think to answer your question, all of this time, I really have been spending it internally, like asking myself, what is a filmmaker? And I felt like I didn't have the right definition so that I could fit into it, i.e. fitting into a box. Yeah. If you met me, I'm very much not like box. Like, I'm just different. Like, I just do my own lane. I do my own thing. And it works for me. I like it here. You know, it's nice and warm. But in a serious note, like, it took a lot for me to define the term filmmaker for myself and walk into that. But when Brittany said it, to finish the question, I was like so shocked, because I was like, no, you're a filmmaker. Like, you are doing it. Okay, aside from you having like more years of experience, like your client list, bomb, your work, phenomenal. Like, you're producing these things. Like, every when they might call you one day, be like, hey Britt, what's up? You're a DP. Like, you're a video editor. Because even we might get into it, but I'm telling you, it was hard. And she was like, but Kourtney, like, you do this. And it was going to that conversation, like, there's filmmakers in every different right. Like we all don't want to do the same thing, and I also felt guilty that I didn't want to do the same thing. So I felt like I couldn't be considered a filmmaker.
Wow,
if
yeah.
I'm not doing these blockbusters or even these web series of certain genres and types, then you are not a filmmaker. And so I felt smaller because I genuinely enjoy social content, and I genuinely enjoy the other things I listed earlier. And so yeah, and we just had the conversation. She was like, dude, like, you are a filmmaker. Like, we are all filmmakers. And the thing is, the 5 of us all bring 5 different things to the table that one may lack in the other area. And the 5 of us have 5 different kinds of clientele. Like, so it can overlap. Like, the 5 of us can come together and create something like wild beyond our dreams. I think that's even, I don't know. I'm not really good at those, but you know the vibes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does.
So
it
I
does.
get like really passionate, and it's hard because it's just hard. Like, it takes, I mean, I can say this to anybody, regardless of whatever industry you do, you have to, and it's not an overnight thing, you have to believe, believe like hell. You have to have some crazy belief or crazy faith, whatever, that's your thing, and be like, I am doing this, like, and it's like, oh, I want to be a filmmaker. No, I am. You have to speak it in the present, and you have to speak it into the future, because the mindset part has and we're gonna get to this later, but the mindset part has been the biggest game changer. Even like for me, business wise, how I started the year and where I'm at here on March 20th is literally not the same. Like, even when I look at what I was making in the beginning of this year to now, and even making last March, it's literally a night and day. And a big part of that was mindset. A big part was community, because you need people around you who are in the same lane, and people who are where you want to be, and people still in different industries to help guide you, because we do not have all the answers. If you follow me on Instagram, I pretty much say this like all the time. I don't know everything, and I have no shame to say I don't know. And now the other thing, when it came to filmmaking, I felt like I had to know a list of long things to be considered a filmmaker, I mean, I don't, especially not having these formal training and not having access to certain things. And some of the things I just don't care to know. No, like, bless you, to be very frank. So look, it's been a journey for sure. And I mean, the journey's long too, and I have no problem with that. Like I said, I'm committed, but it's scary. It's very scary, and it can feel lonely. So you have to believe like hell and speak some real positive things to get some people around you who will help to not only pour into you, but hold you accountable. That may have been a very long answer to your question.
No, it's perfect. It's exactly, it gives me a lot of things to pick out there. Because I don't know if you noticed in my intro, I said, I'm an aspiring filmmaker. But I did.
Yeah, I did peep that. I was gonna ask you, even though I'm like, I know I'm the guest, but I too have questions. Because why are you? I don't know. Like, when you found me on Instagram and I scoped you out, and I followed you in my head, I'm like, but she's a filmmaker. I'm kind of confused why you say aspiring.
So here's my dilemma. I went to school for video production, and I came out of school with this huge gap in the knowledge, like the technical skills that I had. Like, I understand theory, I understand all of that goes with filmmaking, but I didn't have, like, I wasn't able to pick up a camera and actually like create the vision that I had in my head by using this device. And so I always felt super underqualified. I had my Canon T3i,
and that's what a lot of people start with. Well, I didn't start with that. I just started with my webcam on my laptop, and then I got my Sony A5100, and I just got like the 6300 2019. Yeah, but I feel you on the technical aspect, because and that's something we talked about in the group too. Like, I said, I'm like, I feel like people will look down on me. I might not be invited into this space, whether it's on set or just to like talk, community, all that jazz, because if you don't know X, Y, and Z, filmmaker who?
Yeah.
Not this filmmaker.
And that's the thing, like, I felt like I needed to earn my my ranks. You know what I mean?
If you wanted to at me, you should have just said that. I'm on Twitter too. I'm on Twitter. You could have just no. I feel you on that.
Yeah, cause right now, like you know, my boyfriend Joshua, he's like, oh, like yeah, like Kel's a podcaster now, and I'm like, I'm not a. This is my second episode. I'm not a podcaster. Like this is
But you are a podcaster.
right. That's like the mental. I think it's mental. I think it's a mental block that I have 100% because like even now I've launched my production company. I even feel like cringy calling it that because I'm like I have 2 clients. Like it's
Okay, but ooh, let me stop you
we're
right
breaking
there.
it down.
So, I'm just going back to this filmmaker group chat. We're bringing in the rest of them. Literally, I forgot what we were talking. Well, we're in a beta group for our friend Alana. She was launching. Well, she did launch the storytelling program, and a cool thing that I really liked. She gave us each a slide and read us for filth. Because in the application, like she brought up the pain points that we addressed, and then came with solutions, and we are just going through it. And when I was talking about just the imposter syndrome of not feeling like a filmmaker, or even feeling qualified to say, oh yeah, I have a business that offers video production services, and I was feeling really small in the moment, and everyone was just like, but have people paid you for your service? And I was like, oh yeah. And they're like, regardless of the amount, have they paid you? I was like, yeah. And they're like, okay, you have a video production company. Like, first of all, the average person ain't starting out with a sound stage and this heap of equipment and all that. Like, we have to work to get there. And it's just like, when you begin to disqualify yourself, like, your clients will begin to disqualify themselves, right?
Ooh,
they come to us for this service, and it's just like, we can't show up with the confidence that we can do this, whether it is that we don't know all these technical things. Like, they're coming to us because we can take them from point A to point B, right? And if we're showing up with a lack of confidence, then they're going to feel like they too can't do X, Y, and Z. And they already come to us because they can't do this or they don't want to. So if we're not, coming with our A game, it's like, well, damn, I guess we all not moving. But it doesn't matter. Like, if you have that one client, like, it's like, even in my first year of business, I only had one actual client that paid me. Everything else, I did on my own, for free. And the crazy thing is, not crazy in a bad way, but with my one client that is still a client, and everyone else I did free things for, I made sure to treat the people that I did things free for as my clients, right? Because while I did not have these other people paying me, I still need to work through my workflow. I need to figure out my process. I need to fine tune it. So I would make sure that people still went through my entire thing, so that way I could tweak it and see. So I'm like, I didn't give them a less experience just because they weren't paying me. Because the thing is, I'm like, I'm trying to testimonial, social proof. I'm just like, why y'all not have to pay me? I'm like, I'm finna get the social proof from y'all, right? Because when I need to, put on my platforms, if you wrote this, you can attest to the experience that you had. And because I gave you that same experience that I would give my regular paying client, it should be a no-brainer as to why I'd be like, oh yeah, definitely go to Kourtney. Like, 10 out of 10, recommend. So your one client is gonna, and also let me say this, just because you have one client, that is not bad, because one client could pay you the income that 3 clients could give you. When you get that's a different conversation when you get into pricing. But you're a podcaster who has a video production company and you doing things, okay? Period.
Thanks, Court. Yeah, I gotta
Thanks
work
for coming to
through
my
that,
podcast.
definitely. Yeah, right.
No, I mean, but like I was saying before, it doesn't happen overnight. Like, it takes a lot, and it's even harder because not everyone is able to have another person or a group of people that can pour into them, and people are bootstrapping. I mean, a lot of us are bootstrapping, and coming with no experience, and doing our own in different ways and different levels of variation. But when you don't have people to pour into, like, that's when you really have to dig deep and be like, I'm gonna do this, right? Because I even had people, while they were surrounded, I mean, they're still here, like, they're around me, and I'm just like, we're kind of in similar interests, but they still would project their fears to me. Like, even this year is so personal for me, like, it's insane. And I had to get to the point where I'm like, I'm not I have to do this for me first and foremost, and I'm not looking for validation, right? So I'm not going to consult and ask you for permission, because I just was talking about this, but I was to a point in my business where I was asking for permission to do certain things. But when I would go to people, like, oh, what do you think I should do? And they would project, because while we are in the same video production film industry, right, what I'm trying to do, and especially at the pace I'm trying to do, they have not done that before, right? They haven't seen it. They haven't seen it, and they don't see it for themselves. So they would project that to me, and it would begin to discourage me. And I played really, really small. I'm talking about even up until last month, February. Like, this is still like all very recent. So I had to really run and take some risks, which it comes soon to public, but I had to take some risks and then circle back. And I had to tell them after the fact I already did it. Like, one thing my sister did, like, she would do really well. She makes her decisions. Her decisions are in action. What is happening? She's like, oh yeah. And be like, oh, and she's like, I already have my mind made up. And even if you try to discourage her, she's like, I will listen to you. Like, I'm not gonna, disrespect you. We can have a conversation, but at the end of the conversation, just know my decision is already in play. Like, there's nothing changing. So yeah, man, yeah, it gets real deep. I tell people, it's like, for me, and it always has been, it's so much more than video. Like, it's so much more than video.
Yeah, it is. It's deeper than video. You're right. And I think that, I feel like a lot of people listening to this podcast can kind of relate to that. And I think, the idea of like imposter syndrome, right? And for me, I didn't want, like, my biggest fear was like, I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want to embarrass myself. I don't know why I thought somebody would come out of the woodwork and be like, Kel, who, you're calling yourself a filmmaker? And like make a YouTube video explaining why I'm not a filmmaker. Like, nobody cares in a good way.
I'm about to say, no one cares. No one cares.
Exactly.
Like, no one cares.
Exactly. So
we overthink so much, and we throw out all these, not unrealistic, but these unrealistic situations. It's like, dude, like, it didn't happen, and the likelihood of it happening is very small. So you finna do this or not? Because if you're not doing this, what are we doing? Like, we can do something else, but we need to do something. We need to take action, and it's not to rush people, because, like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. But if you can continue, as cliche as it sounds, like, put one foot in front of the other day, and as long as you're making 1% progress, like, that will compound itself over time, like, and become something bigger. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think that how we define being a filmmaker for ourselves is, it kind of guides our journey. Because for me, like, it wasn't necessarily like a certain piece of gear, but it was kind of like this. I needed a portfolio in order to back up the words that I had, because that's the thing. I can say,
you just took it out of my mouth. I feel you on that. I am guilty. I too am guilty.
Yeah, because the thing about, like, me not embracing the idea of me being a podcaster yet is because I only have right now out one episode. Well, this one will be the second, but and like that for me, I think it's, I don't know why I have this mental block of, like, I feel like I'm disrespecting those who are so far ahead of me on their journey, who call themselves filmmakers, that have, like, earned that title. That's why I say,
but then it goes back to the conversation of, like, how does one earn the title of filmmaking? And I believe the only answer really is to put out content, like, put out, and whatever platform, like, put out your work, sharing it. Because
right.
Go ahead.
But that being said, like, to put out work, that kind of talks to what I'm speaking about. Like, you have to have, like, a portfolio of work. You can't call yourself a filmmaker and not make films, and not make any sort of content. In my opinion, you can, if you've never made a video before, I don't think you can call yourself a filmmaker. If you've never created or recorded a podcast episode, you can't call yourself a podcaster.
There's still different kind of filmmakers, because everyone's not behind the camera. Some people are writing this. It's a lot, but I mean, when we count ourselves out and we don't show up, like, there are people that are waiting for us to show up. At any level, like, there are people waiting for us to start our journey so they can join us on the journey. And the longer we put it off, like, the longer they will get stuck. Like, they will continue to be stuck, because they're waiting for us, because they're looking for us for inspiration. Like, people want to support you where you are at, right?
Yeah.
There are some people that like when I first got on Instagram back on 2013, actually I still follow me now and have joined me through this journey of like transition from the content I used to produce to like what I produce now, and they love it. Like they're like, oh my gosh, like I remember really when you and your sister used to like dance in the stores, which I'm like, it's so crazy like when I think about that, because I'm like, well, first of all, I still actually do dance in the store. I just danced in the store the other day picking up some Lysol. But like when I think about where I started to where I am now and just where I'm going, it's just like to have the audacity to not only say it but to do it, put action behind our words. And even, I mean, there are a lot of things I have said that I still have not put action behind my words because scared and imposter syndrome. But then imposter syndrome can kind of work as an excuse for procrastination. Like,
yeah,
because it's like, I mean, I understand you feeling it, but like, what you finna do?
Right,
When's it gonna happen?
Right. Does it, how do you feel, like, does it make you feel weird? Does it make you feel inspired? The fact that, like, to me, you are that person, you know, how like what Brittany is to you and the way that she inspires you and everything, like you, for me, are that person. Like I see your work and I, you know, shared this on my What Creatively Inspired Me episode, like the way that you present yourself, the way that you carry yourself, where you are in your business and the aspirations that you have for yourself. I kind of see myself in that, like, oh, like I would, you know, I just launched my production company in last month and I, you know, see that you've been doing this for a while. So I was like, oh, like, you know, I
mean, technically a while. Technically a while by the books is only 2019 in November. Like officially, me actually producing video content. Actually, no, that's kind of been a while. Now, because you know when people are like, yeah, I've been in the game for like 10 years. And it took 10 years for my breakthrough. And I'm like, no, I feel like that. Anyway, you were asking me if it feels weird.
Like, did you ever think that you were going to be inspiring somebody when you took this leap for yourself?
No, I do not want onions on my pickles. I know what I just said, but that's how I feel. No, to me that's crazy. First of all, who inspire who? Because right now I don't have a college degree. Right now I really have the audacity to say, oh yeah, I'm gonna start a video production company, and going into it, and I don't necessarily recommend it per se, but I know all the costs of like, you know, what it took to run a business. I was in a situation where I kind of had to just do, because I'm a person, if I give myself too much time to think, and this applies to anything, like I feel like I was talking about on my stories a few weeks ago, even just like working out, just get into a habit and a routine of like 30 minutes of physical activity, whether it's walking, hula hooping, intense workout, just get into the habit. If I give myself too much time to think, I'm not doing it. Like literally in the morning, I have to throw, and I do mean like when I say rolling, like throw myself out the bed to do it. Like I can't, because I would just not do it, right? And so in terms of like inspiring, no, like, because to me, I'm still trying to figure it out. So how can I inspire somebody else, right? But then it kind of goes back to the point of like, you know, people want to support you in all parts of your journey, and people will meet you there halfway. And so like even with you just saying that, well, first of all, when people be like, oh yeah, like you inspire me, stuff like that, and when I ask you this question, I feel like a little weird. I'm like, there's no one to my left or to my right, so I guess they're talking to me, right?
Right.
But also, dang, I forgot my point. So I'm gonna skip to my next point. It just forgetting points left and right.
That's okay. Because I think like to your point, like how can I inspire somebody? I'm still on my journey. You only have to be one step ahead of somebody for them to be inspired.
Look,
you know?
The reason why I would feel weird because I was lacking the confidence of, you know, feeling qualified. So then it goes back to the point, like, you have to believe like crazy, no matter how big or small your dreams are. Because even like, perfect example, actually, for the most part, I have like 27 first cousins, like 25 second cousins on my mom's side. I come from like a big family. Big up to the Jamaicans, 876 to my youth them. But I'm like the only person in like kind of like our 20s and even like early 20s that doesn't have a college degree and isn't working towards one. And the crazy thing is, like, I love education. Like, I love learning. And another reason why I didn't call myself a filmmaker for a long time, and really and truly, let me double back on this point. I didn't call myself filmmaker because I didn't know the word. Like, I actually didn't know the word, and it wasn't until like 2019, and because it was like kind of people who are around, like there was nobody per se like in film as a filmmaker, right? So that was the first thing. But then number two, I felt like I couldn't even do this or go this route, because to have the audacity to do it when coming from a family of immigrants, right? You know, they left one place to come here to better opportunity for their kids, and even like parents like going to school to have a better life for their kids. It was hard for me, and I cried a lot. Like, I mean, I cried like a lot because I felt like such a huge letdown, because how could I not, like, I was born here. I did not have to leave here to go somewhere else to, you know, have a better opportunity. And I have access to these tools, right? But I mean, I had to leave for personal reasons, but to not want to go back at some point, like, it kind of one could look at that and be like, oh, well, that's kind of disrespectful, right? Because I literally have like cousins like my age that came here. And first of all, like, that's hard. Like, I would never know what that feels like, you know?
Yeah.
But first of all, I could tell you this. I know I'd cry, okay? If there's one thing I'm gonna do, it's cry. But it was very hard, and I had to like really step out, because I basically was like on some black sheep, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be doing some real big things, right? And I remember when I first started, like, half my family looked at me like I was crazy. Some of them still look at me like, even though it's only kind of going to like year 2 of business by the end of the year, like, look at me like, what are you doing? What do you do? And I'm like, oh yeah, I have a video production company. I work for myself. And they're like, But then the other thing is, I'm actually the only female entrepreneur in my family. And I do mean between my first cousins, my second cousin, like, because most of my first cousins are like adults. Then my second cousins are like around like my age and stuff like that. But yeah, because we do have like some male entrepreneurs in our family. And I actually do have one male entrepreneur cousin in my family who actually is in the video production space. But yeah, I was like, I am the only female, and so that's hard. That's hard, because there's like, once again, you're trying to do what? I think you should just get a job, because I don't think it's gonna work out. But even like now, and it's so crazy because I feel very much in the beginning stages of stuff I just want to do.
Yeah.
Now there's like more like respect to a certain extent. Because people are like, oh, I tell people, like, you know, you do video and like you have your own production company, and I'm like, weren't you isn't this you? Isn't this this was you last week,
right? Oh my gosh.
But even like my younger cousins who are like between like 12 and like 17, well, about to be, they think I'm like the coolest thing since sliced bread. And I'm sitting here like, and they're all women, they're all girls. They think I am the coolest thing, because they thought it was so cool that I worked for myself and I could take them to Chick-fil-A on a Thursday, like right after school, because it's like people still driving from work, but you get, and I'm like, yo, this is not, but it would be like small things, but even just, and this doesn't even answer the question, but to be able to create, like, you know, my own lane and create work towards what I want my life to look like. It's great because it's allowed me to, especially in like emergency situations, like be there for my family and for my friends, like literally at the drop of a dime when I need to. And I'm not saying you can't get this in like corporate America. I can't speak to corporate America because I have not gone to corporate America. But from the outside looking in, like, it's a little harder. You know, boss might say no, but you know, some people, the vacation is still booked. That's not an emergency, but vacation is still booked, so you know, I'm going. But it's not. There's not too much wiggle room. Not every position. For anyone listening, anyone watching, I'm not saying, like, put the disclaimer up there.
Right.
But there is a bit more freedom, you know, doing it on my own terms. I don't know what the question was. I done forgot, but I just had to close it because I'm like,
No,
Got
that's
to ask the
okay.
question.
We were talking about inspiration to start, and I can touch on the corporate America thing. But quickly, you spoke about how some people in your family were supportive and others weren't, and this, you were embarking on this journey that looked different than the journey of a lot of your cousins and the people in your family. So, how important was that community that you've built with like online, of the people that you've met
Oh,
online?
10 out of 10. Definitely necessary, because like I was saying, it's very hard if you don't have those people around you in person. So to get online and genuinely be able to create relationships with people. Some people I'm like really great friends with now. Like literally yesterday, up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. First of all, I never went to sleep, but we were up, and we didn't plan to all be up, but we were up talking, texting at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, about business stuff and like just personal. But I'm just like, even people I went to school with, like, they don't get it, and it's not for them to get, because they're like, why are you up doing work at like 3-4 I'm not saying every night is like that, but since I couldn't sleep the night before, I was like, let me just bang out some things.
Yeah.
And even just like my goals, like, they don't get it. It's just like, okay, but it's like, I have to put in the work. And I'm not saying work 7 out of 7 days of the week, y'all. Do not come find me online and try to drag me. We ain't doing that. But there are some times where you're really gonna have to put in some serious legwork. And the online community helped me to feel seen, first and foremost.
Yeah.
I also felt valid. Felt valid. Word to my New York people. But also I felt like I was able, like, they empowered me to really have the audacity to chase these dreams. And I'm like, y'all want me to do what? And they're like, oh, chase those big dreams. I know they taller than you because you ain't so tall.
Right.
And they offer like so much support. And I would not be able to necessarily get that from certain family and friends. And the thing is, some of these, they don't mean harm. They don't mean any bad intention, but they just don't know. Like, and I even, like, with my family, I know it was definitely hard when I was choosing to go on this journey, because aside from my one cousin, I'm like, nobody else had been venturing off onto a path ever so like the one I'm on now, right? So they can't offer me help, versus like, school stuff. Like, they can help. It'd be like when your parents would like help you with your math problems.
Yeah.
And before math got to whatever the math was looking like today, because this math today ain't it.
No,
I'm like, can we just add? Can we just carry the one?
Why take those letters out the
even
out
when
the
it came to even when it came to lattice, I was just like, I ain't do lattice in my school district. So what is happening here? Can we just keep it real? Can we write the the little thing for division, put the 8 here, 2, 4, 6, make it happen? I'm just sitting here like, is it math or is it boot camp? I'm like, boot camp is just for coding. You know what? Anyway, but no, definitely online community, like, so important. Because it can get really hard, and especially when you're trying to do things right. Because then there are people, I know people, they have a business, but it's kind of like just a quick buck, or it's not something they're passionate about. It's not something they're looking to build and expand the way I'm looking to. And I know this is one of the questions. So it's like, you really have to get around the right people, and just kind of seek that out, but be genuine in it. Because for the most part, most of the people I met through the comments, because I just be saying anything. If you follow me, if you know, you know. I am not afraid to slide in someone's DMs. If anything, like, they just won't respond back. And when I slide in DM, I feel like DMs are probably the best place you'll meet me, because like, I send voice notes, I send videos, we just text back and forth. It just feels like I talk to someone, and yeah, respect their boundaries too. Don't slide to their DMs like on some crazy stuff.
Right.
Like, don't slide to the DMs and be like, oh, like, I love your work, and literally list like 100 million questions. Like, okay, first of all, no, I'm not gonna answer all this. Second of all, too, like, you probably gonna have to pay for like a coffee chat, because I'm like, if you want like a blueprint, like, come on now, like, you gotta have some respect for the boundaries. But yeah, don't be afraid to really reach out to people though.
That's interesting that you say that, because I noticed one of the newer services that you added to your breadth of services that you offer through your production company is consulting.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure it out, because what I have noticed in terms of like the people that like follow me online and the people I engage with, people have questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to serve people the best way I know how, and offer help. Like, I love how I will be the first person to tell you where I got something from. Like, and if it's a referral link, I want to eat too. I'll let you know it's an affiliate link, and I'll send it to your way. But I was like, I need to find a middle ground, because I need to find a middle ground between like, and it's kind of, some people can be like, oh, everything's not about money, and that is true. House beats are ever, there is a fine line, because when you, I'm kind of going to the blueprint, when you want like a lot more, you're asking someone to give a lot of themselves, right?
Yeah.
And even that, like, you got to sit down and write all this stuff out and pull the resources all together and plan that. So it's just like, there is a fine line between like free and paid. And for me to turn on the lights to talk to you, I got to pay these people. Well, the lights, they flick on, but the lens,
right,
it ain't cheap. A one-on-one, you want me to set up some camera settings? I just, so I'm trying to figure it out. But I put out a survey, and I'm going to keep pushing it, because I need to know what it is that people want from me. So I have actually gone back to some requests, and people, they want free and paid, because the thing is, and I was talking about this week, even for like my clients, I have like some free guides on my website already. I think linked within blog posts, or you can sign up for my email list and download them, and they're really good. But some people, they still want more than that, and I was like, okay, well, from there, like, that's where it becomes paid, and especially like, when you're trying to put together some custom things. So I haven't put it out as a service yet. I'm really trying to work through. I'm just in the beginning stages of it, but I'm not trying to say I'm rushing it, because people are like, so answers. I kind of need some answers.
right.
But yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. Well, we're gonna see. And also, I didn't want to do something like this for a long time, and just going back to just feeling qualified enough, right? So then I'm like, who am I to sit here and try to have some one-on-ones or consult or offer advice? Because I also didn't feel like I knew enough, right?
Yeah.
So, and even this week, like, I was mind blown, because I'm like, actually, even though I don't feel like I know enough, I know a lot. And it just goes back to the point, you only need to know one or two more things than people to be ahead. Because, people be like, oh, this, and you think something's so simple, but it's simple to you, but it's not simple to other people. So, yeah. Because even like my blog post, I had to send it to one of my clients, because she was just having but she just wanted to know some more about external audio. And I was like, I have a whole blog post on external audio. So I sent it to her, and she was like, oh my gosh, like, this is so good. And I'm like, why are we not doing what it is that you want to do and you've been called to do? Like, because, man, look, I'd be having revelations on daily.
Right. It sounds like, so a few things there. Number one, it sounds like you're valuing your time, and you like your worth in that sense. Like, you're not draining yourself, giving away all of your expertise and your value for free, but at the same time, you're not robbing people of that, and you are putting out content that that your audience will benefit from for free.
Yeah, I never want to gatekeep. I don't. Yeah. People doing too much of that already. I'm too short to even reach some of these gates. Okay. Yeah. I'm like 5'2", 5'3", y'all.
Yeah. But I think it also ties back to I was kind of reading about your mission in the Founders Day video that you posted on Instagram. Mm-hmm. You explained that the goal for Cassanova Media is to help more Black creatives and women creatives in the digital space. Like, you have this for us, by us mentality.
Yeah, I'm a FUBU.
Yeah. So, like, tell me a little bit about. So you started your production company in 2019. Tell me a little bit about like this mission that you had. Did you go into the business knowing that you had this mission and that's why you launched your company? Or was this, I got to put food on the table, I got to provide for myself, this is a passion of mine, and then it ended up developing into something you're like, oh, I can really make a difference for the Black community here?
I went in knowing. I might have not known all the words, but I went in knowing, because I remember even when I started So I launched Cassanova in 2019, but I'm pretty sure I had the idea in my brain since like 2017. So it's been like a long time now. I'm thinking about it. And I remember I went to Bali for my 21st birthday. Don't even ask me. I was just out here just because. But anyway, there was an influencer who was hosting a trip, who I've connected with over the years, and I was a subscriber of her YouTube channel for some time. So it was awesome to meet her. And just throughout the trip, I remember I became like the go-to photographer, and I was like, and then like even just like questions regarding like airdrop and stuff. I basically introduced everybody on the trip to airdrop. I'm like, how you got these? Come on now, and like certain things. And I remember, and mind you, what the digital space was then and now are like night and day. But she was like, why are you not doing this, right? And then I remember 2018. I actually traveled back with that same travel company because I really loved them. And another influencer who I'd been following, she was hosting a trip, and I met her, and then we were like talking, and I remember she had like a workshop, and we were all talking about like our different passions and stuff like that. And then came me, and it became the question again, why are you not doing this? Like, because there was like more questions regards to like just video and just tech, and people were asking me, and I was giving them answers, I was giving them solutions, right? And so for me, I was like, I want to help us, because why not us? And especially in the area of like brands and companies and partnerships, right? We already know like there's a huge pay gap between men and women, let alone white and black and people of color creators. And you can be producing like the same level of quality content, but still be getting paid less. And so for me, I knew that I wanted to educate people to have a better knowledge so they can feel confident to go forth and put out what they want, but also to help them, because we all know like video is the workout in itself, right?
Oh, yeah.
Before you even press record, it's just like, if I want to work out 5 days in a week, I could just do like a 4 to 6 hour shoot, okay? And you need a team of people. And so I remember I started out with the idea of helping influencers and stuff like that, but then I changed it because I was like, it's actually not even just influencers that are looking to work with me. They are creative business owners who are black women in this online space. And I was just like, I love black women. Black women have helped me to get to where I am, and even where I'm going. And even within the video space and this film space, it's been black women, because like the black men I've come across, they're doing their thing, they're making their coins, but even compared to some of these white counterparts, to be very honest, they're still like undervaluing and undercharging their service. And it's just like, they are really, really good. I mean, like where I would love to be, you know what I'm saying? But they lack confidence, and aside from confidence, they lack a process. Because it was one thing I have noticed with black women and black men, not black women, but women businesses versus men businesses. Men businesses, they can get by without having a process, right? So, we could both be in video. You just gotta fill out their little, and nothing to it. Let me actually just say this, because I don't even want, y'all do not hop in my DMs with my email. I will block you for this. But they can get by with the Squarespace intake form, right? And you shoot them an email, whatever, they'll get back to you. Women, I'm over here, I got my workflow, I got my Dubsado form embedded in my Squarespace sites with a workflow and a step-by-step process for what's going to take. You're going to get a nice confirmation email like you inquired, you're from us in 2 days, things are streamlined, because it's like, I have to come correct, because I only have this one opportunity, right? And it's like, if I mess up, when will I get this opportunity again? And so, that's my 2 cents.
So it's interesting. You're even viewing your website and kind of just getting to know you through watching your stories and everything. Your process is intense. You have it.
Someone
down.
Literally wrote that in my comment. I went live a few days ago this week, and you did come when I was talking about my editing process. First of all, because it's very a little frustrating when people really want to come to you and they're like, oh, I want to work with you. I love your work. I just need to edit. And it's like, well, I don't just edit. Like, in a sense, like, and I think I touched on it a lot, but video was so personal to me. You know, when someone is coming to me to seek my services, right, and they want to work with me, and we'll just use video editing, you are inviting me into your life, right? You're inviting me into your personal space. Because once you, like, enter the editing, like, when you send me over that footage, I mean, I have a confidentiality clause in my contract for this. But, like, I am seeing the uncut version of your life, and you want me to help you to tell this story, whether it is this story, and it's like you could be doing like Get Ready With Me. We're just gonna put it. I'm just making up stuff in my head, right? But as you're applying these products, like, you want this story to be nice and engaging. So if your goal is to get people to shop your affiliate links, and it could sound vain, but I mean, we do live in this capitalistic consumer. You know, anyway.
It's a different conversation for a different day.
No, different conversation. But look, these are people's goals, right? Or especially vlogs. Vlogs are so personal. You literally see everything. And my job is to tell the story so that your audience can sit there and watch from start to finish. And even like in my process, when I talked about like the questionnaires that I do have people answer, like even on the first intake form on my website, like it is very specific because I want people to be ready when they come to work with me. And this is actually something I'm working on right now, but putting together some things so that when it's time to work, like, we can do that. Because I realized there are a lot of gaps for like the simple things, right? People don't think it's important for me to know as your editor, like, what kind of camera you're shooting with, when in reality that is the biggest thing. Because when it comes down to the file transfer process, I'm like, if you're shooting like with a cinema camera at like the highest bit rate and the highest settings, like, we're gonna have a problem because these files are big, and especially if you're not making proxies, you might have this expensive camera and you might not know what proxies are, right? And it's just like, you want a turnaround time for 2 days, but you don't factor in that you have to provide me notes. And even like my notes form, it's very it's a Google Doc template I made, but it's like thorough. Like, on there's an example of how to use a note sheet, and then you have like the song if you have the one, preferred time length, and then initial draft, right? So I need as much information up front, because unless I know you, and even so when I know you, it's not going to give what it needs to give for the edit. So you need to provide me all the information, so that way it cuts down on how many revisions you're doing, because I only include 2 for free, like in the price. Because after that, I just feel like there is a miscommunication, because after all these questions that I've asked you to understand who you are, what your business purpose is, what is your goal, what are the objectives, who's your target audience, and your target audience is not just women 21 to 37 who live in the Bronx, LA, and Florida, and they like to shop. That's very general. Like, that's not a target audience. All that matters, because the way women 21 to 24 receive information and the way women 30 to 36 receive information are not the same. What will get them to engage to your call to action is not the same. So just like, there's a lot for me in my intense process, because I need all of it. I want it to be as specific so I can get it right, and get to your stuff. Because the thing is, even like with the video notes form, like, people don't realize, first of all, the longer you take, the longer I wait, and the longer you wait. And it makes people realize they're not as clear as they are in what they're doing. And some of them genuinely don't know, even for like my questionnaire form. People, like, the answer may be vague because they haven't sat there and thought about this. Like, what is the purpose of your business? Like, what is the goal? Like, these are very specific questions that no one's asked them. And especially not until no video, because people are like, I just want it quick and go, right? Yeah. Even when you think about like these celebrity and like high profile people, like their media team, like they can turn stuff around to them fast because they know exactly what is the goal for their client, right? Beyonce, first of all, Beyonce just got off the stage about 30 minutes ago, and she already got pictures up, like, and aside from like working with these people over time, but you know exactly. Like, when you first sign on, like, that brief, that sheet of information, everything is thorough and thorough. And if it's not, they're going to get it thorough and thorough because they don't got time to waste. They don't have time to waste. So let's get it right on the first time. And for me, that's how I feel, because I could turn things around real quick.
Yeah.
I could like, even I had a client. I time myself on every project. I don't charge hourly, but I time myself so I know when it comes time for me to block my schedule off or whatever the case is. I turned around 3 videos with 1 revision in 14 hours. 14 hours and 37 minutes.
Wow.
And I didn't realize, because I was like, wait. Like, that was just the editing part. Granted, like, the pre-task, like, setting up their folders, stuff like that. But the actual editing, 14 hours and 37 minutes. So I was like, maybe I didn't label. No, it was labeled correctly. But I was able to go through it because I knew exactly what the ask was.
I think that, like, timing yourself also, you just continue to further define your process, because not only is that helping you kind of like determine how you're supposed to value your time. Like, if a task that you thought was going to take 2 hours is taking 7 hours, you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe in the future I'll charge this, I'll do that. But also help you refine your process and, like, okay, like you were saying, evaluate it. Why did this take me so long?
But even for me, like, because what I'm going to do, is to scale, right? So when it comes time for even and I'm not even going to say even in the small phase, because this phase is not small just because it's me. But even in the season I'm in now, I've already been thinking about the first people I'm going to be hiring. So it will be like an actual assistant. I will have an editor's assistant and a filming assistant. And those are not the same person. Let us say that, because y'all be trying to do this to people and pay them the same one price, and it's not even a good price, it's a low price. So we're gonna stop that right there. Which y'all pay in try to grasp, not me. But number 2, like, when I'm like, all these tasks I can get done, like, so when I'm like setting up like my clients' folders and like having to link them and make sure to like my editor assistant can tackle all that in terms of organizing. For like, when I know exactly how long it takes me, I know exactly how many hours for the week and for the month I will need them. And then not factoring, but it can help me like know exactly how much I'm gonna pay them. There you go. And this is, for me, it's like, it's nothing personal, but it's like, you have to really think about what your goals are, right? Because it's gonna determine how you do business. Like, are you doing business just to say like, oh, I have a business, like, I'm making some coins, whether it's a quick buck or a long buck, or am I doing business because I want to scale and grow? Because you don't have to scale and grow to like a company of 100 people. That's a lot of people. Yeah. But even if you're, that's really a lot of people. But if you're looking to have a team of 15 in like the next like 1 year to 3 years, like, what does that look like in the future? What can you do now to prepare for that, so that you're ready? Because for me, I'm just like, even where I am now, it's just March 20th, but like, this year it's about to just blow my mind. Even just like the rest of this month, I remember I went to this week and I'm like, these next 2 weeks are just going to be insane. And the way I see the demand, because of how I'm positioning myself for my business, like, I'm very confident before the year is out, I would have hired 1, if not all 3 of those positions, like, at least part-time. Because when I'm doing all these tasks myself, and I'm not trying to be Superwoman, when I'm doing all these tasks, it's taken away from what I actually want to do, right? So if I only actually really want to edit, if I only actually want to write the script or put together the treatment, like, all these other tasks, like, it's taken away from that time, right? And we still want to be able to have a life outside of our business, because we don't want to be a slave to our business. Some people, we did not start this business to do that. If we want to do that, we can go work for somebody else. Right. But it's just like, look, I be thinking like real future. And for me, I say this a lot, but just because we're just starting out doesn't mean we have to only be there. Like, we can prepare for the future. Just because you're starting out doesn't mean you have to look like you just started out, right? Because even though it's only me, first of all, I use we on everything. And second of all, like, even like going to like my website and my process, like, you would never know it's just me, right? Because I operate in a space of excellence, because you only have that one time to get it right. And And why not do it right? Because who wants to be doing it all this other time? Ain't nobody can do that. I gotta sift through this footage for your 30-second reel that you want, and it's like an hour and a half's worth of footage. Like, we're not going to get into that, but yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. You're really setting yourself up for success. Like, I watched a video where you were telling me, like, or not me, you were telling the audience, your 5-year goals for Cassanova Media. And some of those included, like, you were like, I want to be a media conglomerate. I want to have a global presence. I want to have employees with at least 2 salaried. I want to become a millionaire. You know, I want to start a scholarship fund.
It's gonna happen.
That's so inspiring to me.
We're in the process, right? So yeah. I'll be 25 July 7th. So, you know, if y'all want to cash at me, Kourtney Cassanova, you can Zelle me, contact@cassanomedia.com. I'm serious. Look, we gotta pay for this equipment.
Right.
But so I'll be 25 in July, and it's crazy because way before, even when I was younger, I always said, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be a millionaire. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen. I'm gonna go beyond that. Like, we're not just stopping at the milli.
Right.
Or to my man Lil Wayne, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna be 25, and that is definitely the goal by 30. It's gonna happen, and even like, cause oh my gosh, mindset and all this stuff really plays a part. Because in January, I definitely was feeling just more defeated for where I was, and here we are in March. Who I am in March, I'm very confident that all that stuff will happen before I'm 30. I'm feeling very confident. Like, it might happen at 27. Like, soundstage, you know, that one's a little longer. And I mean, it could be just like, I don't know if you follow Kev on Stage on Instagram, but he's a comedian. He actually just got his own soundstage, which I think is so cool. And it's crazy. He was like, my own soundstage, my own place to record my podcast, like my own. And I think it's like 2 actual sound stages and then some offices. And I'm like, that would be fine just for me, just to start. Because, you know, even that someone's like, oh, well, your sound stage is small because I only got 2. And it's like, but do you have one? Cue the bad girl sound effect. So why are you talking? Are you paying these bills? It says sound stage, right? You know, like, Issa started somewhere. Everyone started somewhere. But yeah, it's going to happen. So y'all can stay along. And I'm excited because to be able to give opportunities to people, that is something I always wanted to do. Even before, so actually, I've always known I wanted to go into film and entertainment. I just never knew what position. Like, even when I was younger, I always said it. But now, like, when I think about the fact that when I will provide opportunities for people, it's crazy. Especially in this industry that does, I mean, any industry, but this industry, since I've been talking about a lot of gatekeeping, for Black people of color, women, and for me to do that, in the next couple of years, it's wow. And it's going to change someone's life. It's going to change a lot of people's lives. And even like starting a foundation, I have the name for the foundation. I have all that. It's just, you know, I need to get the funds and all those kind of things. But like, there are a lot of things like, I'm doing it. I have like the names and those things locked off. It's just, you know, funds for real. And time.
It's awesome that you're putting the intentions out there. Like, you right now, to me,
I don't got no shame. Like, I have shame, but I don't really have much shame. Like, the thing, look, if it doesn't happen, it could be embarrassing, especially like online. Like, when you put something out there, if it kind of falls through in whatever that time frame, it could be embarrassing because, like, well, dang, like, I just told people this finna happen. Shoot, last summer when I said I was shooting a spec commercial, I went all on my story. I actually have the place, and it's gonna happen. But delayed does not mean denied.
Yeah.
Because even when we feel denied, like, what can come, and actually not what can, but what will come, what is in the pipeline, it's going to blow your mind. And I'm speaking it from experience. Oh my gosh, we're going to do another podcast episode. I'm going to have to be a guest for the update.
Yeah.
But January to now, it's crazy. Like, this week, I talked about it on Twitter. I didn't get on IG with it because, as shameless as I am in a way, I'm like very awkward and I don't like too much attention. Even though I get on my stories and talk daily, it don't make no sense. But this week, I was able to close out a multi-4-figure deal. And in January, if you told me that, I would never have believed you. Because in January, if you told me that all of what I was doing was going to play a part, in January, if you told me that my process was valid, right? Because even in this video production space, like even from, and I'm not even going to say a small business owner in terms of like small bit, but in terms of like side in a smaller capacity of a person, like all of this matters. Because for me, what sets me apart aside from personality is organization and process. And I'm gonna just charge you based off of that. We're not going to get into skill because for creative business owners, and speaking to this, I remember it's a conversation all the time, but we get a bad rep across the board for deadlines and communication. And you can be the best, but if you don't have a process, like you're SOL. Like talent is only about 30 to 40%. I'm being very honest. Like it was only 30 to 40%. That other 60 to 70, what is that back end looking like? Could even like website, like my website, I have built both of my websites. My personal website, what's on there now, I ended up buying a template from my friend Raven from RP Digital Studios. If y'all want to check her out, she's a web and brand designer. But like even Castle Media, the web designer I'm going to work with, I remember when I met her online, I didn't have the funds to afford her. And I never said that her price was too expensive just because I couldn't afford her. What I told myself, I said, and I told her, I'm like, I don't care what the price is, but when the time comes to work with you, I'm paying you that and then some, because I know the value. And even when we're talking about metrics and conversions and money, like I know what it's going to do for me and my business, right? So I'm going to circle back, and that's what I do with everything. Even like my photographer that I'm working with, Marka Evans, who's based out in Dallas. I remember when I knew I wanted to shoot with her when she launched her business like 4 years ago, I think it was. I just didn't have the money. And I was just like, that's fine. Because when I do, I'm going to work with you because I want to work with you, right? But even so, in the meantime, what I do, I learn as much as I can. So even like my website, what it was looking like in year one is not what's looking like now. Like my year one, I did have the Dubsado, which is what I used to like my forms and stuff, but I was like still figuring it out. So I just had my Squarespace like submission thing. But one thing I did, I taught myself how to code. I wrote the code and I put it in. And like even when I started to learn about like color psychology and things like that, like I implemented that onto my site. So it doesn't look the same, and it's still not where it's going to be for where my expert web designer is going to take it, but it gets the job done now. And I'm actually even about to update it again with some other things. And it's just like, delayed does not mean denied. In that season of what feels like that delayedness, do the work. And that kind of could sound harsh because it's like, oh, well, dang, like I'm going through stuff. Don't worry. I cry a lot. I really do cry a lot because I would feel so small and I felt undervalued on top of not valuing myself and what I bring to the table, what is different, what makes me me, right? And I was like, well, dang, I don't have the website that I want. But it's like, okay, but you have the skills now that you can apply something. Because my web designer, we're friends / we get services from each other. But she was like, girl, you went ahead and taught yourself how to write some code. She like, this itself is good. Like literally, she was like, bruh, I'm very excited to work with you because even like the platform we're thinking about, like I actually will be able to maintain it myself if I really, really want to. And like, once again, like just because you're starting, you don't have to look like you just started, right? You might not have whatever Canon or Sony camera or whatever brand that you consider, a high quality. But these cell phones, they take some fire pictures, and if you can just learn how to edit, if you can just learn a few settings, like it really just changed the game. Like as a TikTok would say, they're gonna know. It's like, how are they gonna know? No one's gonna know. And it's not even fake it till you make it, but do the work in the meantime, for real. And I just wish that I wish I had someone to say this to me, even in like the first year of business, because I just felt like so small because I had like all these people in different industries like telling me I was great, and even like my website and all this stuff aside from my work and like different, and I'm just like, okay, but like I don't have what I want, so I don't feel like what you're saying to me is valid. And I'm like, they saw so much for me that I could not see for myself. Even,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going back to my website because I really, that's where people are going to meet you, right? And I'm like, it doesn't look the best, and my portfolio wasn't that big, right? But I was like, I made sure to get testimonials. The work I did have, I put it on there, and I promote a lot of like my own work, even though I'm working on it, but I have not been posting often. I still lead with my best work because I felt like I'm like, I don't have this big portfolio. I don't have this ever so popping website. I only have so much experience. Like, I kept putting these I statement limitations on myself, and it's just like, and I'm not trying to say I could have been further ahead, but like confidence, like what I could have showed up for myself more. Because when we don't show up for ourselves, like, we're not showing up for the people that need us to show up. So like, even with you saying to me, like, I inspire you, stuff like that, in my moments of like undervaluing and not showing up for myself, I'm not showing up for you. Yeah. Right? People that are looking to learn from me, whether it's free, whether it's paid, like, they can't come to me if I'm not showing up for myself. So yeah, like, I just, like, I take a lot of pride in everything I do. Cause like, you really don't get that one shot, and you don't always get a second chance, especially as a woman, and especially as a Black woman. Like, that's just the God honest truth. And so yeah, I forgot what the question was at this point, but that just
That's good. I love that, like, your mindset and you trusting the process and also like putting the work in is setting the groundwork for the success that you're gonna have. That's amazing to me, because I think you're right in that, like, we limit ourselves, like the way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we think about, how crazy or realistic our goals and aspirations are, that really will play into how our dreams actually unfold.
No, for sure, for sure. I'm telling you, there's no way that you're going to tell me I was closing well, really, technically, it's 5 figures. But there's no way you're going to tell me I was closing that off of one service I have, because I have 3. As a one-person team right now, technically, in a Polly Pocket, as a Black woman, without a college degree, and all these other things that people would use to say, like, this is why you do deserve this when we're going to talk money, right?
Right. You're out here doing it, and it really is inspiring. So I can tell that you're like kind of a lifelong learner too. You're constantly trying to level up, and like you were saying, do the work in between, your milestones and whatnot. So what is the next way you're trying to level up? Like, what's the next skill or program that you're trying to master right now? What's on the radar?
It's been a minute. So actually continue to get better with color grading. Am I looking to be a colorist professionally? No, not really. But just for like my sake and like my clients. Because it's funny, literally last March at the start of the Panini, I actually was not color grading. Literally, it wasn't until April. I remember I had a Zoom call with Brittany because I felt like I need to take editing classes. Then we got on the phone and she was like, "You don't need to take editing classes." And we were just talking, and then we were talking about gear. And then when I told her I was doing, and I said, she's like, "But why aren't you color grading?" And I was like, "Oh, I just felt like I can't." And she's like, "But why not?" I'm kind of confused. And she was like, "I want you to try." So we went through it. And since then, like, literally, if you only were to look at the footage without sound, like, you see the night and day difference, like, in my videos. So I definitely, DaVinci is something I'm looking to learn. Like, color grading and DaVinci, those are definitely 2 things. Learning a little bit more about audio. Do I want to be an audio engineer or any other titles that fall underneath that? No. No, like, I'm just, look, I'm letting y'all know, no. But I do want to be able to have like a basic everyday understanding for like the different aspects when it comes to shooting, because given that when you are on set, something happens, like, you can jump to fix the solution so you guys can move forward. Definitely lighting, because so for what the plans for me to be in what I'm working towards. Aside from video editing, like video editing is always gonna be. That's definitely always gonna be here. I also want to be. I'm going to be a DP. Like Kourtney, the DP hype woman video editor. Oh yeah, that's a thing. That's definitely a thing. I may be short, but I'm coming, swinging. The clip is loaded, okay? But some other things. Actually, just so technically, my spec library in my head, I have about like 5 specs that I want to shoot. And that I'm going to. It's just really just to, I mean, aside from fun, just to do it and get out of my head.
Yeah.
Because crazy thing is, long story short, I was talking with somebody and I mentioned one of the specs I want to shoot because I actually want to pitch my service, like pitch Cassanova Media to be the video production company for this company. And it's like a pretty big company, Black women owned. And long story short, the person, they were like, that person just emailed me about literally needing video production services because I basically was just like, kind of going back to like my why, not seeing Black women in like this high quality, like commercialized produced content, right? Especially as business owners, especially when you do like have these, I mean, not just physical, but definitely physical products. And literally that was just about word for word what the business owner had told the person that I know. And then the person I know, they were like, that's crazy because if you didn't mention it, I would never even know. And basically was able to network. And when I finish it, my person's going to send it over, like CC me on the email and bridge that gap. And it's just so crazy because it kind of goes back to, you know, not feeling like I'm a filmmaker, but it's just like, but if you have people pay you, you're producing, you're doing this, like, you are not a who. Okay.
Yeah, you got to check the facts, right?
Yeah. And you really sometimes, and I do it often, like you have to really look at the work you've done and what you're doing now. Like you have to look back and just be like, I could do this because I am doing it and I have been doing it. Like when I think about it, I'm like, dang, like 2013 is a long time. It is 2021. Like that is a long time. And even though I didn't, you know, start to take it seriously until like, well, not casting media, but just like video, like maybe like 2017. That's still a long time. Dive into like this, and it's crazy because I love it so much. Like I could not see another job. Actually, I could not see another career to be in. Like that would allow me to be all who I was. Because even when I was younger, I always said I don't want a desk job. I said I want a job. I mean, you could do this too, but I was like, I want a job where on Monday I can hit up my sister and be like, do you want to go to Paris on Wednesday? And then we fly to Paris on Wednesday. Like I mean, stuff abrupt like that. Granted, real life does not happen. Like that. But I wanted the freedom to be able to do it. Like not only the financial freedom, but the actual freedom. And because of my personality, I'm like, and it's funny because I sit at a desk, but I'm like, I can't sit at a desk job. Like, no, I just literally would feel boxed in, and I would feel like I have to put on this facade to be something that I'm not. And I can't do that. Like I can't compromise who I am for the sake and comfortability of you. Now that's not to say act out of pocket, but no, look, I gotta get like, cause people they want to nitpick and try to hop in, like back up, cause I'm gonna block you. But yeah, so definitely improving my color grading skills, learning Da Vinci, and learning more about lighting and just like the different aspects and just putting out work, because you know if I could do it at this level, you know, with whatever I consider to be limited resources, it's like when you do have the access and the funds to these other resources, like how you do, because we all know like it ain't about the gear, it's about the person behind it. Like gear does and does not matter, just given a situation, you know. But especially when you're starting out in anything, use what you have to get to where you want to be, to be able to do what you want to do.
Absolutely. And I love that you're documenting your journey too, because you know, taking it, because you're not only just you not only have your video production company and you're a filmmaker, but you're also a digital content creator, right? You're making content, you're giving out, tutorials, tips and tricks, you're giving gear guides, you're talking about tech, you're documenting your process in a way that like allows someone to go to your socials and see like, oh, this is where she started, this is what she's doing, but this is like in general what she's about.
I mean, yeah, I'm about like creating great content, that looks good. But I also just have like a great time because the thing that I just thinking about this yesterday, but like when you go to my socials, you're gonna meet me.
Yeah.
You're going to meet me, whether it is like video or even like in my travel vlog, like you're going to meet me. And for a long time, I felt like a lot of shame with that because I'm just like, once again, I felt like I had to fit into this certain box to be accepted and respected, right? Like to be honest, my personality is very, very big. And even just like in like the film space, I was like, ooh, like it's a lot. And so I'm like, how can I cultivate community? Because I'm like, people that might be in like the web design industry versus like the people in my direct industry that I'm working hand in hand with, might not receive it the same. But what I've come to find is like, you really have to be yourself. Like your people are out there, and people don't buy into people, right? I mean, no, whoa. People don't buy into brands; they buy into people. So the longer you just keep putting off your person, and honestly, people don't care what you're doing for them. They really just want to support you.
Yeah.
They don't. First of all, there's some things people are like, oh, can you share this? I'm like, oh, I thought that was boring. Like, it ain't nothing. Even sometimes when people ask, like, why I haven't been on stories, aside from my hair sometimes look crazy or like being a little busy, sometimes I don't go on. I'm like, I don't got nothing to say. Like, I'm literally always here. Like, for the most part, we're gonna talk about whatever's going on in my head, or I might have a story. Like, there's some like, if y'all go to my story, like, you're gonna meet me, but it's nothing too crazy. Especially since we've been in this panoramic, like, just being inside. I was like, I'm at this desk or on my bed, but I'm here. I'm inside. Like, I'm gonna make a smoothie to start off my day, which is usually what I do. I have some oatmeal. I sit at my desk. I start off my day with music, of all different genres. But like, I'm here. I can't sit here and like perform. Like, I'm like, if I'm not outside, well, I might pretend to be outside. Like, even next week for my shoot, that's definitely something exciting because I'm like traveling in this silver press, and I can share that with the people. Look, it's a lot of words out here. Okay.
Yeah, tell me. So we're wrapping up soon. We've been chatting for a minute. But what's a project that you have coming up? How can the viewers and listeners of this podcast support you as a filmmaker? What can we see coming from you soon?
So coming up from like personal brand, likewise, and now that I'm saying this, I'm putting out these specs. I'm actually jumping back into just like YouTube, so you can check me out on my YouTube channel at Kourtney Cassanova. Kourtney with a K, Cassanova with a C, 2 S's, not one, like the song. Word to my man Levert. Honestly, yeah, just meet me on my platforms because actually, let me start that over. Yeah, meet me on my platforms. At Kourtney Cassanova _ on Instagram. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can. Usually, Twitter's just for the jokes, all right? Don't come over there with like too many. I only kind of talk about gear a little bit, and I still don't even I don't talk about gear too much because that's murky water. People getting crazy. I'm like, I don't got time for this.
Right.
So yeah, meet me on my socials. I'm actually gonna get back into my tech teams with Court blog because I've really seen like a demand even this week, like within like my web designer group of friends. Like, they were having problems with like externals, and I hit them back. I'm like, first of all, y'all could have just asked me. And then I was like, oh, here's the blog post, and they're like, wait, it's still up. And so some of them, first of all, they've gotten their life together. I'm like, y'all got all these files, why do y'all not have an external to back up your hard? So literally, like, they've been purchasing and supporting my Amazon store. Support your fellow creatives. One thing I do, and I'll say this before we wrap up, if there's something I'm interested in using, whether it's a program or gear, I literally ask, like, in my friends or even anybody if I'm like, do you have an affiliate link? Because that's definitely one way to support creatives. Because y'all don't be mad. Y'all don't be mad at these white people with these affiliates. Why y'all mad at us? I'm so confused.
Right.
No, seriously. So I'm very intentional. I'm like, do you have a referral link? Because, you know, even with like programs, you'll get like, you know, a free month or two, and the creator in change, like they either get the credit for money off of like them paying for it, or they'll get like the free time in exchange. So do that for sure, because it makes a difference. And even just, you know, in the video space, this thing is costly.
It ain't cheap.
And look, and so even like Kel's podcast, y'all want to know what mic she used? Check out the little cliff notes for that Amazon affiliate link. No, and it's like, it's not too much, but like, you just never know how these affiliate, especially when we do receive the money, you don't know how it can support the people, whether it's for their gear, or it could be for their bills, or they could be putting it towards like, you know, their emergency fund for anything that can happen. Like, it makes a difference, and it's very much appreciated. So yeah, just keep with me on my platforms, because I really and truly, like, I'm just gonna be putting out these specs, some tutorial information, some vlogs. Yeah, actually, some vlogs that are kind of like filmmaking related, and just like everyday vlogs. Because what I want people when they come to my platforms, you can meet me, and there are other extensions of me, but all of it plays a part. So whether it's me talking about filmmaking stuff, or something as simple as music, like all of this matters. Like, we don't need to stay confined to one box if we don't need to.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like tall and you can't be fit in no box. That's not how So yeah.
Awesome. Kourtney, we definitely have to have you back on the podcast. I couldn't have imagined that we would talk for an hour and a half and not get to like 75% of the questions.
I was like, dang, I kind of feel bad because I'm like, Kit, this time like a quarter of the question. I feel like you asked me like 3 to 5 questions, maybe 7 just to push it. But I'm just like, because I'm very passionate like about what I do, who I am, and really just like helping the next wave of people. Like, let's make our own, and even shoot, if you want to license out your content to these platforms, go ahead and charge them a pretty penny for it. Or if you want to create your own platforms, go ahead and still charge these people a pretty penny for it. Like, let us, get to the bag, but like, let us work towards like something that is sustainable, something that genuinely brings us joy. Even like Brittany, and Brittany, this is her hoodie from her Black Women Create line. So y'all want to check that out, Brittany Janae on Instagram and stuff. But she did a YouTube video about filmmakers and like why we should invest, right? And that's something actually I want to get into myself, because like, you know, if you're investing, you have this money coming in, like you genuinely can operate from a place of passion, right? And not a place of desperation or lack because you need to pay your bills and stuff like that. So that's definitely something, not just talk, but when I want to work within my business, I want to be able to continue to build something that is sustainable. So I'm never coming from a place of lack or desperation, because then it does affect the project and how I move. But this is really good. Thanks for having me, y'all. Stay tuned.
Course.
Stay tuned on Cassanova Media too for like what I'll be doing with my clients. Cause it's just bananas. So
well, we're ready. We're here for it. I love that for you. And we're definitely, I'll definitely pick your brain when we're done recording on who else you think I can get on the podcast. Like, there are some awesome female filmmakers that you're connected with whose stories, you know, and if they inspired you and you inspire me, like, I need to go down the pipeline.
I mean, you know, we run the pipeline program here. A good one. Let me wait. That's
Let's rephrase. That's funny. All right, Kourtney, it's been fun. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm so excited to see what you create this year and how, you know, you inspire other female Black creatives. You're making moves. I'm here for it. So, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Bye. As usual, thanks so much for listening, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Bye.